I think what might boil down to the most inept franchise in the NFL. And look, there is no shortage. There really isn't. Because think of it. The Commanders and Josh Harris like sitting in quarterback meetings now. That's red flag.
Yeah, I remember Ben Johnson was like, yeah, they're basketball people.
They're talking football.
I'm like, I don't really trust them.
The Bears have been very dysfunctional, even though every move that they've made over the last year, pretty good.
Better. Trading back, great move.
Well, in acquiring all of the assets, and they've actually played this Justin Fields thing very well for them throughout. Everything, like we said, everything was going to be a smoke signal. And then they get to the combine, and they're like, we're making a decision. And Ryan Poles was very clear, we'll make a decision. Here we are. Now Justin Fields is on the trade market, and we'll see what his value is on the trade market. People still seem to believe they'll get a second and more for Justin Fields, which is crazy to think about at times. But I think Justin Fields has the opportunity in the right spot. He could still be really damn good. But we have two franchises that are kind of rising to the top as the most dysfunctional in the NFL right now. And they don't get enough credit for being as dysfunctional as they are. The Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. We outlined both of the trades that have put them in this precarious situation. The Russell Wilson trade, where the Broncos gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, and 3 players to eventually be 2 years later in $89 million in dead salary cap.
That's what happens when new owners come in. New owners come in and they screw it up every time. That's what I always caution Blazers fans about too. New ownership does not always fix things. It's always great to have the big pocketbooks, but look at every new owner across sports. What do? They know how to do it better than anybody else when they come in. And they come in, and that's what the Walton family did. They come in, and if you think they didn't have any say in the Russell Wilson thing and how much money was getting put into that with how long and protracted that sale was, you're out of your bleeping mind. They are not. That franchise is not getting their sale greenlit with the Walton family with that much money committed to a quarterback and a trade of that magnitude being made a year before the sale.
That's right.
That's not happening.
And then you have the Panthers trade for Bryce Young, where they gave up a pick swap last year, which was phenomenal pick swap, but they swap with the Bears. They give up a first-round pick this year, which is the number 1 overall pick.
That's Clippers-esque. That was the Clippers selling off the pick to get off Baron Davis's deal and it going number 1 for Kyrie Irving.
That's right. A second-round pick they gave up last year and a second-round pick they'll give up next year to the Bears.
Which is by the way, really good.
Their best and really only receiver in DJ Moore, they traded to Chicago, and they drafted Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud. What I go back to how we kind of ended that last segment. CJ Stroud would have been an absolute disaster in Carolina too. Nobody would have been successful throwing the ball to DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, with Chuba Hubbard as your running back and no offensive lineman. Like they were.
All those names sound made up.
Well, how about Laviska Shenault, the pride of Colorado, who is actually really good if he ever stays healthy, but never
that's tough.
Healthy. All right. Which team is more dysfunctional right now? Denver or Carolina?
Carolina. Denver will figure it out. There's too much money. It's the Walmart family.
But isn't Tepper the second richest owner in the NFL?
Yes, but he's singularly stupid. Where it appears that the Broncos are they're more hands off.
Yeah,
the ownership group is, in which you can make changes with at the general manager level. You've got Tepper in all of the meetings, the coaches' meetings, and in the locker room after every game, chewing out coaches. Like, you don't hear about the Waltons in there. That kind of ownership, the Jerry Jones stuff, look, it works for Jerry because Jerry did it after he was winning.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
Jerry wasn't in the locker room right after he bought the team.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this. Boy, this is tough. Looking at the draft history of the Denver Broncos.
Oh, it's really bad.
They've not been good over the last handful of years.
Yeah. Which is, I
mean, Marvin Mims could be good, but he's, again...
Yeah. Rotation level.
Yeah, he showed pop.
Sure.
He showed pop at times, but
which is I think is a Peyton thing.
He's a speedy wide receiver, but
I think it's a bad GM thing as opposed to bad ownership.
You go back to 2021 when they drafted Patrick Surtain. That was a good pick. That was a very good pick. No. Yeah.
It's other than that, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Bonito, the linebacker out of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're just picking Oklahoma guys, is what I'm seeing as their top picks. Yeah, it's been tough. Like they haven't been drafting well either. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy in 2020, Patrick Surtain in 2021, and it's after that it's been pretty ho hum.
Yeah, and I think
they're not.
And I think it's a Peyton issue as opposed to an organizational issue. Whereas with the Panthers, I think it's a Tepper issue, which means it's from the top down.
Yeah.
You can fire Peyton.
I think the worst trade, as we look back at it, is going to be the Denver Broncos.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the Bryce Young one.
Because of the fact that they gave up all of that capital and but like the big, like, what were they thinking? I think is Carolina, where they just passed on C.J. Stroud, and they're going to have this to go back on.
And Caleb
They
Williams.
passed C.J. Stroud and then failed the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams because their roster was so bad they couldn't see, 5 feet in front of them. They were like, wait, we're so bad right now. We'll be the worst team in the NFL again. And everybody was sitting there saying last year, like, they're going to be bad.
Yes.
This team is going to be horrific next year.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you got Frank Reich, a new head coach. This roster is ill-equipped to win even in the worst division in football. It was like, hey, who wins the NFC South? It's either going to be Atlanta, Tampa, or New Orleans. You can just write off Carolina, and it's the worst division in football.
And we knew that they were the worst team in football going into the season.
And I think that
there was no surprise storylines there.
The headline will be like, you blew it on not just C.J. Stroud, but Caleb Williams as well. But I think if you're talking about the ramifications of what the Denver Broncos, which were competitive, and then all of a sudden they went from being competitive to non-competitive. Like, and that's the last 2 years, they've been 11-19, for God's sakes. They have been unequivocally bad. And you go out and you go to get a guy like Russell Wilson to turn the corner. There's no corner to turn anymore.
It was a shortcut, and they didn't make the turn.
And that's why, and you made Seattle a team that everybody thought was tanking. Guess what? They knocked it out of the park because of your dumb asses and ended up in the playoffs.
And that's where I go to the Carolina one. You might have just set up 2 franchises. Houston, whoever takes Caleb Williams, if Chicago trades out of it, your stupidity may have just set 2 organizations up for the next decade.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, yes, and that makes sense because that's the big, like the gray cloud, drafting Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan, and we all have it in Portland to be like, guys, we had Clyde Drexler.
Yeah.
We have to explain that over and over again.
There was a reasoning behind it. This doesn't have any reasoning. There's nobody on that roster. You're like, oh, no, we had to go get our quarterback of the future. For what?
And it's going to be just, and this is where Bryce Young, I feel bad for that young man. There isn't a quarterback in the NFL's history that makes that franchise functional right now. And that's the Carolina Panthers. I think Carolina is the worst run organization in football. And as the text line says, your Raiders might be up there too.
They're not there anymore. They were there for 20 years. They're a step above bullheaded ineptitude right now.
Who's their quarterback?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like somebody's wearing some fairly Raiders colored glasses.
No. Look.
I think they are. He's wearing the blacked out Raider shades right now. These aren't like, he's not rose colored. These are blacked out Raider shades is what he's wearing.
Are they on the same level as the Panthers?
They're not as far off as you think they are.
Again, like I said, they're a step above bullheaded ineptitude. I didn't say they're doing good.
Are they though?
Yes.
Because in a year where Caleb Williams was on the table,
and they should have tanked.
They won their last couple of games because Antonio Pierce was on the Pride Tour and saying we shouldn't be this bad.
Yeah, I know.
And they hired Josh McDaniels in the first place.
Which again, getting rid of him is what brings them a step above ineptitude. Bullheaded ineptitude.
They have a pirate on the side of their helmet. It felt like there was going to be a damn mutiny on that roster if he was there for a day longer.
Which I would have loved to see. That would have been something I would have paid to see. Full disclosure. I would have been all for